In the quiet seaside city of Aomori, where trains passed slowly and the ocean always smelled of salt and memory, two people kept meeting at the wrong time. Aiko Sakamura believed in silence, not because she liked it, but because she had learned that speaking often made things worse. At 27, she worked as a piano teacher in a small music school. Her students loved her patience, but none of them knew that she had once dreamed of performing on the world's biggest stages. That dream ended 5 years ago: an accident, a broken wrist, a career that never began. Since then, Aiko played only 4 children, simple songs, safe melodies, no dreams. One rainy evening, as the city lights blurred through the storm, a man stepped into the empty music school. Ren Takahashi. He was 30, tall, slightly unshaven, and carried the tired eyes of someone who hadn't slept properly in years. "Are you still open?" he asked. Aiko looked up from the piano for lessons. Ren hesitated. For listening, it was a strange request, but Aiko simply nodded. He sat quietly in the back of the room while she played. A slow piece, soft, hesitant notes that sounded like someone remembering something painful. When she finished, Ren spoke only one sentence. That sounded like regret. Aiko frowned slightly. "It's just music." Ren shook his head. "No, it's someone apologizing to themselves." Ren came back the next week and the week after that. He never asked for lessons, he just sat in the corner while she played. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't. It became a quiet routine to strangers sharing the same room without needing explanations. Eventually, Aiko learned that Ren was a photographer who used to travel the world. War zones, disaster sites, places most people avoided, but he had stopped traveling. "Why?" Aiko asked once. Ren smiled faintly. "Because eventually you realize that some things shouldn't be watched from behind a camera." He didn't explain further. Aiko didn't push. Winter arrived slowly. Their conversations grew longer. Ren started bringing coffee. Aiko began playing songs she hadn't touched in years. One night, while snow fell heavily outside, Ren asked, "Why did you stop performing?" Aiko froze. No one had asked that in years. She tried to laugh it off. "My wrist injury." Ren shook his head. "That's not the real reason." The room grew quiet. Finally, she said softly, "Because when I recovered, I realized I was afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid the dream had only been beautiful because it never happened." Ren looked at her with a kind of understanding that made her uncomfortable. "Fear ruins more dreams than failure." Aiko looked at him. "You sound like someone who knows." Ren didn't answer. By spring, the distance between them had changed. Not close, but no longer strangers. One evening after closing the school, they walked along the harbor together. The sky was orange with sunset. Ren stopped walking. Can I ask something?" She nodded. "Why do you keep letting me come back?" The question surprised her. She thought about it for a moment. "Because you listen," she said. Ren smiled slightly. "And you? What about me? Do you listen to yourself?" She didn't answer. Instead, she asked the question she had been avoiding. "Ren, what happened to you?" He stared at the ocean for a long time. Then he finally spoke. 3 years ago, I photographed a building collapse after an earthquake." His voice was calm, but distant. "There was a little girl trapped under the rubble." Aiko felt her chest tighten. "She was alive," Ren continued. "Rescuers were still digging, but instead of helping, I kept taking photos." The waves crashed softly against the harbor wall. By the time they reached her, it was too late. Aiko whispered, "That wasn't your fault." Ren looked at her with hollow eyes. "I know, but knowing doesn't make it quieter." That night, something shifted between them. Not romance, not yet, but something fragile began to exist. Months passed. They started seeing each other outside the music school. Small dinners, walks through quiet streets, conversations that lasted too long. Neither of them said the word love, but both of them felt it growing, and that made things complicated. Because love meant risk, and both of them had already lost something they couldn't recover. One evening, Ren arrived late. His expression was strange, half excitement, half dread. "I got an offer," he said. "What kind?" "National Geographic wants me back." Aiko felt her chest tighten. "Where?" "Turkey. Another earthquake zone." Silence filled the room. "You should go," Aiko said softly. Ren looked at her carefully. "Do you actually want me to?" She hesitated, then answered honestly. "No." The truth hung between them. "But you should still go," she added. Ren laughed quietly. "You're terrible at pretending, and you're terrible at leaving." The night before his departure, they walked along the harbor again. Rain began to fall, soft, steady drops. "Aiko," Ren said quietly, "if I leave, will you finally chase your dream again?" She frowned. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Because we're both hiding behind each other." His words stung. "You're wrong, am I?" Aiko looked away. Ren sighed. "I don't want us to become excuses." The rain grew heavier. For the first time, Aiko felt angry. "You think loving someone is an excuse?" Ren shook his head. "No, I think fearing life without them is." They didn't hug, they didn't kiss. They just stood in the rain, both knowing something important had broken. Ren left the next morning. Weeks passed, then months. Occasionally, a short message arrived. A photo of ruins, a sunset over broken buildings, a single line, "Still alive." Meanwhile, Aiko started performing again. Small concerts, nothing big. But every time she played, the music sounded different, less careful, more honest. Almost a year later, Ren returned to Aomori. He looked older, tired but lighter somehow. He entered the music school quietly one evening. Aiko was performing for a small audience. When she saw him standing in the doorway, she missed a note, just one, but she kept playing. When the piece ended, their eyes met. For a moment, it felt like time had paused. After the audience left, they sat together in silence. Finally, Ren said, "You're better than before." Aiko smiled faintly. "You're still blunt." Another pause. Then she asked the question she had been carrying for a year. Was it worth it? Ren thought for a long time. Yes. Did it fix anything? No. They both laughed quietly. The rain started again outside, just like the night he left. Ren looked at her. "Aiko, I don't think we're the kind of people who get happy endings." She nodded slowly. "I know," but he continued softly. "I think we might get meaningful ones." Aiko looked at the piano, then at him. "Stay tonight," she said. "Not forever. Just tonight." Ren smiled. "Okay." They sat together while the rain fell against the windows. Aiko played the piano softly. Ren listened. And between the music and the rain there was something fragile and real. Not perfect, not permanent, but honest. Sometimes love isn't about staying together forever. Sometimes it's about meeting someone who helps you keep living even after they leave.